indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Madam Clerk, would you read the special meeting notice followed by roll call?
Certainly. Members of the Town Board, special Town Board meeting Thursday, September 1st, 2022 at 10 a.m. Please be advised that pursuant to Section 62 of Town Law, a special Town Board meeting will be held in the Town Board Meeting Room, Southampton Town Hall, 116 Hampton Road, Southampton, New York, on Thursday, September 1st, 2022 at 10 a.m. for the purpose of considering the following. Authorize the supervisor to sign Suffolk County Department of Public Works non-utility work permits for various locations within the town of Southampton. J. Schneiderman, Supervisor, dated August 30th, 2022. Supervisor Schneiderman,
Present.
Councilwoman McNamara,
Here.
Councilman Martell,
Present.
Councilman Bouvier.
Councilman Bouvier has an excused absence from today's meeting.
Okay. Councilman Scavone.
Present.
All right, thank you, Sandy. All right, I'll start with public portion. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on any specific topic before we get into the one resolution that is before us today? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close public portion.
Second. Check the monitor.
We have to check
Nope.
online. Charles, is there anyone watching online who wants to be heard in public portion? If you are watching online and wish to be heard in public portion, please click the raise hand icon. Thank you, Councilman Martell, for reminding me.
Couldn't hear you. Charles said, there's someone, but they're not raising their hand. They're just watching, but they're not raising their hand.
Okay, motion to close public portion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, public portion is closed. We'll move on to the agenda. We are joined by Captain Kiernan and Charles McCardle, Highway Superintendent, and we are discussing a resolution to authorize the supervisor, myself, to sign non-utility work permits with the county. These are county intersections where we're looking to do put the lights on blink and do some other changes to help the traffic flow. Everybody knows how bad the traffic has been. Some of these will be new to you. Some of these you'll be familiar with. So we're going to go through them one by one, and let me read it. We'll do it on the motion then. So this is Resolution 913 of 2022. Authorize the supervisor to sign Suffolk County Department of Public Works non-utility work permits for various locations within the town of Southampton. I'll take a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Martell. Okay, on the motion. So there are 6 intersections. The Highway Department, in conjunction with the police, have reached out to the county engineering, and I really appreciate the county's assistance here. These are all roads where the main road is owned by the county, so either Montauk Highway or County Road 39. And the county is allowing us to do these projects based on certain permit conditions. And they all involve cones and signage and blinking lights and police presence. So what I'll ask, I think, why don't we start with Highway Superintendent McCardle, if you want to go through each one so the board is aware of what the changes are, what is being requested. And my understanding is this doesn't mean we're going to do all of these. It just gives us the right to do it when we want to do it, correct?
That's correct.
And is there an expiration date on the permits?
It's 1 year.
It's 1 year. So you want us to take us through, Charlie? When you go left to right.
So this is an in-place road, County Road 80.
So Charles is about to come in here and say we can't hear you. So what I'll do is I'll just repeat what you say, because you can't reach the mic and point. So this first one is Canoe Place Road and Montauk Highway, or CR 80.
This is the AM,
And this is the morning configuration.
which is what we've been doing for the last at least 2.5 months the highway department's been involved. And let me just clear this up, that in early June, the highway department asked the police department if they needed assistance at this corner. They had some staffing issues, and what developed into the highway department basically coming every morning to assist the police department. And we made some aggressive changes, we added cones, we went across the canal with 2 lanes, and they merge much later when they can catch up speed. We're physically in, we call it the pen, in the box here to direct traffic. Some people are confused, we're there right to talk to them in the window to let them know that they can make a U-turn later on down by the North Road. Same thing here, some people stop, they think the light is changing red, not just blinking, so we have to wave them through. And we took an aggressive stance, and it definitely worked. So that's what brought on moving forward. Now, with this next one here is,
All right, so, and again, now you might actually be able to speak into that microphone on, at
I'll
the
take care of
podium.
this. So this is County Road 39 at Tuckahoe. Most people know it as the College Shinnecock Golf Course. We tried this also, and it worked tremendously. The county, in their permit process, add in one little thing that you can't make a left in the morning to get to the golf course, just for safety reasons. Me and the captain discussed that, and we don't really see the importance of that, because the traffic going west in the morning is light. It's easy enough for people to make that turn. But regardless, this is what they want, and this is clear. All this signage apparently is part and parcel of all these permits, which my department will do. We'll do them on stanchions so they could be put out in the morning and then taken down when the cones are taken down. But it's the same thing. You come out of the college, you have
Would
to
you
make a
explain
right
that again?
turn.
I missed that last part that you guys were going to do.
So all of these are new signages.
Right, I understand that, and the county requires a series of new signage for safety reasons.
Okay, so what's your question?
If you would back up just a couple of sentences and
For the
repeat it.
stanchions?
So we're going to do these on stanchions. So at the end of the morning,
The
we can
signage is going to be placed.
loaded back up and taken away with the cones. So these will all be on stanchions, so we can move them as needed. So this, only right out of Shinnecock, only right on Tuckahoe, and off you go. So then we get to the
Are we,
next one.
on that configuration, so it would probably help if somehow we could let traffic that's, let's say, on Montauk Highway, heading north on Tuckahoe, know before they actually go down Tuckahoe that they can't make a left.
Right, that would be, I think we would do it with digital signing.
Yeah, if we could use a digital sign, that would help, because it's very hard to turn around there. And
Right.
to force people to make the right is not going to be good either. And if they're trying to make a left, where is the first left they can turn around in?
It's St. Andrews. They would come out of here getting the turning lane, and they would make the left at St. Andrews, and then they have to navigate either a U-turn or go down St. Andrews to turn around.
Yeah, I can't.
It's
really
a lot.
You can't really do a U-turn on St. Andrews. They could maybe go down all the way down to, I guess, the Tuckahoe Lane,
So St. Andrews has a big
then come back
big
up.
front to it, big opening, and that's what they were doing. They would go in there and make a U-turn, stop at the stop sign, and then come back out.
And that-
But
That's a
I have to
dangerous
tell you, by the
U-turn.
third day, we didn't have that problem. People weren't coming down there. It's the same people, same time, every day. So after the third day of schooling them, they were staying on Montauk Highway.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
People will get used to it, and they'll know after a while.
So we moved from there, and this is the tricky one. This is Mcgee Street. So Mcgee Street, you have the school, we have a lot of issues.
I'm not
This
sure if you're
this
close
needs
enough
to
to the
be,
mic. See if you can position yourself closer.
So-
to it.
Mcgee Street, you have the school, and you also have 2 lanes coming out of the village area. So Mcgee Street needs to have some more thought, some more navigating before I think we can put that into play. Me and the captain were talking about, if we do this pilot program, that we would not blink this light till after the last school bus had left Tuckahoe. Because clearly the school buses have to go in all directions, we can't control the light. But after that last bus left, whatever time that might be, then that would be the time that we gauge when we can blink this light.
And that's afternoon, correct?
That's afternoon,
Okay.
okay? In the morning, it's not a problem because the buses would be able to turn in if the light is blinking in if we're traveling in eastbound direction. And we move forward, this intersection here is North Main Street. We did this, it wasn't a big impact with blinking the light, but it would be, I think, if we're doing all of these, we should include this. We were there, and this took very little manpower because it kind of ran itself, plenty of turning lanes, and again, it wasn't a big crossover street. So this, again, we did it, I don't think it added much of an impact to saving the traffic coming out. And then we moved to, this is where I get all my criticism. In the afternoon, I came up with this one lane going west on 39 from North Main Street, North Sea Road to Sandy Hollow. Now, if you've been around a long time, years ago, when you came out of Sandy Hollow, there was just a yield sign because it was only one lane. And Sandy Hollow flushed out all the time because you didn't have to stop. So this is the theory. Sandy Hollow only breaks into 2 lanes as you get to the bottom. It's 1 lane as you come all through North Sea. And just here, you get to funnel into 2 lanes. My theory would be if we keep it 1 lane and this light stays green, that 1 lane continues to move the whole time. Now, on 39, this is really it here, right after Burger King, we would put in a merge and make 39 1 lane going west to Sandy Hollow. So the light at Sandy Hollow would stay green for Sandy Hollow and 39 the whole time. These 2 roads would just continue, and although 1 lane, they wouldn't stop. Right now, you have 2 lanes that stop every 3 minutes when this light changes, and it backs all the way up. So again, it's just a theory, just something we could try for that week or whatever the supervisor decides. Maybe 2 weeks would be a better plan so people get used to it. Now, in the west direction, these are only the east directions. We have the same thing in the west direction on all of these lights. When you leave Sandy Hollow, the first stop you come to is North Mcgee Street. So once those buses are done, if we could blink that light, we get some help from the village where those 2 lanes maybe get diverted. This is off to the races. And I know people don't want to hear the speeding on 39, but they can travel at a steady speed and get through.
So that's just that's an afternoon program.
This bottom row is an afternoon program. And I know there was definitely some concern about safety, about setting up these cones. But as I spoke to the captain, if we do a week program, this would be set up on a Sunday night and stay the whole time. We wouldn't take it down in the morning or the afternoon. It would stay during the whole project. Does anybody have any questions?
There's just tremendous volume on that section of road.
What
I mean,
happens-
you have all the North Sea, the road coming in.
So this would stop. I actually believe if this moves, you're not going to have Suffolk backed up.
So,
Because
you know, I understand the theory, but there's, you know, at David White's, it's 1 lane. And then at 7-Eleven, I'm talking about on County Road 39. If you're heading westbound, so a lot of traffic comes in at David White's and enters County Road 39. And then even more traffic at North Sea Road. What is that? That's North Sea Road that comes down. So and then you have traffic in all directions. So coming from the village side, making that left, to get all that into 1 lane,
So
merge that into 1 lane, I think you're gonna have a backup that goes well beyond the old Pier 1. I mean, I think that's gonna back up to Waterville.
It's already backed up.
it's already a creep. And what
I
happens
know,
here
it's
is
already a creep, and it's gonna be, I think, a worse creep.
you have 1 lane coming down 39 till where that new laundromat is, then it breaks to 2 lanes. So you only get 20 cars that get to get a benefit. 20 cars move over, and then it's 2 lanes all the way going through here. This is a single lane that turns. This is an issue. It's 2 lanes. But just like I said, at Montauk Highway and Hampton Bays, you come off Flanders Road, it's 2 lanes and you merge to 1 in a second. This, we give you 500 feet to merge over by the Burger King. Doesn't affect the gas station, Burger King, or the mechanic shop. It's only 1 lane in front of the cemetery. You have Henry Road, which will have to have a little spot to get in, and then it moves. So 39 from North Sea Road is 1 lane and doesn't stop.
Is that gonna push, if this theory works, will it push more traffic though onto back roads to come down on Sandy Hollow? because there's no longer a light there.
Sandy Hollow is already bumper to bumper all the way to Noyak Road.
No, yeah, it backs up all the way through Noyak Road.
That stop sign on Noyak Road where it meets North Sea Road, it backs up past the fire department, past,
Well, Noyak Road, the stop sign definitely backs up there.
yeah. I mean, there's some things you can affect. But again, if 39 moves, everything else
It
moves.
might clear a lot of traffic on Sabonic.
Now, Sabonic in the afternoon isn't, like, I can't believe those people don't have the same argument in the afternoon that they claim to have in the morning. Because you can't move on Sabonic and Sandy Hollow. I think if this works, people use Waze. They look. It's the same thing in the morning when you make that turn at Montauk Highway to get onto 39 to get on Montauk Highway. Everyone's looking past the winery before they decide to go to Cobb Road. Everyone's looking that way. If it's clear, they go. Same thing here. If you're coming down North Sea Road and it's clear, you're not going down those two
Right.
side streets to get to Sabonic.
Well, if it says that's your fastest route,
Yep.
why go the longer route?
And like I said, if it saves you 3 minutes, it's gonna tell you that's
Yep.
the faster route.
I don't know, if it saves you 1
And
minute,
look,
it'll tell you
it's a
faster route. And sometimes
It's
they
a big
don't.
operation, but I think for a week or 2 weeks, it's worth a try. We can't,
And then if it's only like, if it's about the same, or if it's even 1 minute longer, people might prefer it because they don't have to go as many miles, save a little bit on gas, so, less turns.
So
But
what-
I think that it's sort of, this is in a different category, this one, to me. I think, I'd be willing to authorize the work permit, but I think we sort of segregate this one out and we do a separate test on just that, and see if it works. See if it works. Now, what you referred to before is this like week program. I really haven't discussed that with the board. So, we've been working with police and highway and engineering and the village and others on a sort of a global test for the, really looking at the morning rush hour. And let's say for like a 1 week period, we'd sort of do everything we could to get the morning traffic flowing. And we'd measure beforehand and we'd measure during. And we'd see if it's actually working, and we'd also figure out what the costs are, the manpower, human power that's involved. But we want to see the effects on, let's say, State Route 24 up in Flanders. We want to look at the effects on Canoe Place Road in Hampton Bays and, Fanning and Argonne and some of those other streets. We want to look at Little Cobb Road. So we want to sort of count the traffic, the number of cars on those roads before and then during, and then compare. And what about the commute time? Did we take 10 minutes off the commute time, 5 minutes, a half an hour off the commute time, and at what cost? And then we can figure out what works, how effective it is, what's the cost benefit, and then if it all is really making a fundamental difference, we can try to figure out how we're going to pay for it, because we'll know what the costs are. And then we can look at different ways to try to cover the cost, because it's more police, it might be, highway personnel, whatever those costs may be, mostly more people. And then we can try to look, and some of this could be handled with more equipment, structural signage and things like that, so. But anyway, that's sort of the idea. We're looking at mid to late October for this 1 week pilot program where we're doing a little bit of everything. So just authorizing me to sign these today does not mean you're gonna start seeing every one of these things.
But we will see
We'll see
Canoe
this one.
Place tomorrow.
And there's also some state intersections that aren't,
Sure.
there's some state intersections that we're doing that aren't on this list, right? So,
I believe the police are doing St. Andrews in the afternoon, but
Right.
that's the only one I know of.
yeah. So, yeah, I'll bring Captain Kiernan up in a second, but yeah, but we're looking to do the Watermill Light in the morning too as part of this pilot program. And St. Andrews and I guess Tuckahoe as part of the pilot program. Right, you were there for that meeting, right? So
Tuckahoe on Montauk, yes.
Tuckahoe and Montauk, yeah, and St. Andrews on Montauk Highway, and then the Watermill Light, as well as these other morning ones, not the afternoon one. So, any questions about this?
Yeah, Charlie, on the one we know on Canoe Place and Montauk Highway there, it doesn't show the cones going over the bridge. That was a big asset to help the merge on that. Is that going to take place?
It is. It just got to the point where I couldn't fit it all on the picture.
Okay. And also, when do you think you will be taking that over again if we sign on it today?
So just to be clear, we've only just been assisting the police department, so if they need us, we'll be back. It's up to, like I said, we started this just as a mutual aid from the highway department to help the police department, and that's really what it is on all of these. I might have taken an aggressive thought out of the box on a few, but I think what I did was prove my point, that, a lot of these things can be done without these massive, expensive studies, and, it's manpower.
And you were successful even with the traffic going west in the afternoon, too.
The afternoon work too,
Yeah.
and I think, I'll give it to the captain to speak on it, but it works. Like, the North Road entrance to Montauk Highway, we all know was a nightmare, a disaster, probably very poor engineering, but the fact that when we have that light going west and we wave the people through, the traffic's moving fast enough where people have gaps to get in, so North Road has been cleared up also. Let's face it, the two worst intersections, North Road and what's the end of Sabonic? Sandy Hollow. No, Shrubland. The two worst ways to get on to an adjoining road. Shrubland should go right through that bus stop. It should be a merge, for sure. But the North Road was a merge, and now they changed it, and now we have some issues. But again, getting back to it, when that light, we do wave them through that light, the traffic's moving at enough of a pace where North Road can clear out without a problem.
You're waving them through Canoe Place, right? You're talking about in the afternoon?
Yeah, we just keep any west traffic, they stay on the shoulder, they don't have to stop for the light.
And now, I went through that the other day in the afternoon. There wasn't anybody waving anybody through, but it wasn't backed up there either. So are you doing that on an as-needed basis?
No.
Captain, you want to come over?
Yep.
Well, I have a couple of questions for Charlie before he goes. Well, look, I'm sorry. Well, it's appropriate that you're both here. Charlie, you said that you were assisting the police. It was my understanding that you were assisting the police on Canoe Place Road only. You said on all of these things.
Yes, on Canoe Place Road only, yes.
On Canoe Place Road only, but
Right.
the other blinking light intersections that the highway department, under your direction, kind of blinked the lights and set up cones, the police were not part of that?
That's correct.
Okay.
So I guess the question was, in the afternoon at Canoe Place, do you have somebody there in the afternoon waving them through?
I do not today or yesterday. So since the police have been involved the last few days, we have not had that in the
So
afternoon.
you have staffing issues.
We do have staffing issues. I will.
So you
put
don't
some-
want to you don't want to shut down a sector car.
No, it can't be
Right.
done with.
So Captain Kieran and Leah, let's get your comments on this, because I know, and I appreciate this week, you stepping up and taking care of Canoe Place Road in the mornings. That's made, I
Sure.
think, that's been very helpful. And, nobody wants to be an obstructionist here, and there are obviously some costs associated with it, but my primary concern is public safety, right? So I know people want to get to work as quick as possible. I just don't want anybody to get hurt. So we have to make sure that public safety issues are all addressed, that we're thinking about all the possible issues that could arise, both pedestrian and vehicular, on these changes. And all these roads aren't ours. They're county roads, so I think it's important that the county is issuing these permits. So I'm thankful for Charlie for sort of taking the lead on getting these permits and working with police on it too. But, so Jim, there's a whole bunch of these. Do you have any thoughts? Have you reviewed all these?
Whenever I did review them, whenever you change a traffic signal, it ultimately should be reserved for emergency situations, because there's a reason the signal's there to begin with. But understanding that there's a major problem with traffic and you're trying to alleviate that and you're trying to look at different things, the county has decided to grant you the permission to make these changes, but also requires that there's a police presence, because only police officers can allow people to disregard traffic signals. So, and for public safety, it's required, they're requiring our presence. To do this entire thing on an ongoing basis, we're not prepared to do that on an ongoing basis. There's just no way to continue it for a long period of time. We have a reserve of police officers, those police officers that are not working at the time, those police officers that have been rested and able to come in and do things. So the reserve gets smaller and smaller, and you need some people for an emergency. So the people that are ordered in an emergency situation. So to get this done for a week or two, we're gonna dwindle that emergency contingent down to zero, basically. We can do that, but I wouldn't suggest going more than a week or two. And on an ongoing basis, we would need more numbers of police officers to get it done.
Can you use traffic control officers, or does it have to be police officers?
Only police officers can have somebody disregard a traffic signal. With that being said, there are some places that TCOs can provide a level of public safety where they wouldn't be ordering people to come through devices. So there are some places where they'd be appropriate.
Do you have a sense that if
We have one, though, they're just,
we did all these things, and I'm not sure all of them are gonna work, like, I'm not sure North Main is really necessary. We don't necessarily.
well,
That's
North Main would be covered by Southampton Village.
Oh, okay.
So there are some posts, I can tell you this,
And I
to
think that
do,
they'd be willing to pay for that personally.
They will.
I've talked with the mayor quite a bit.
taking that intersection out of it, this will be 10 posts for Southampton Town police officers in the morning, 10 posts for Southampton Town police officers in the afternoon. That will go down,
That's 10 people?
10 people. That would go down after a learning curve, because in the beginning, you're going to need a police officer on both sides of 39. Because people, when they come to something new, they will just stop, and they won't go where you want them to go. They'll stop and point, I have to go this way, and they want to know why they're not allowed to go that way. So you're going to need a police officer on both sides to basically educate them for a few days until they're used to it.
So, but it's gonna be thousands of dollars a day.
Thousands of
You
dollars.
have some numbers? or-
I do. So you want the pilot program numbers, you want this entire, I can tell you that for all of these locations, you're talking about daily, to do the morning and afternoon for police costs would be daily 12,500, weekly 62,500. Again, that could be reduced after a couple of weeks, after the public is educated and they're
What do you think
used
you
to.
reduce to, like by a third, or?
It could be reduced to approximately from 62,500 to 43,750
Per week?
weekly.
And I don't know that this is needed in December, January, February, March, April, so we can, maybe needed it particularly in the springtime where it's the worst, but we can sort of scale the program. A lot of the people who are gonna benefit from it, a lot of it are gonna be people from Southampton Town and western Southampton Town, but there's also gonna be a lot of benefit to people who don't live here, who just simply are coming out here to do work. People who live in western Suffolk,
After,
contractors, I just, to what degree do we burden local taxpayers on helping people from out of town get to work faster? So I think if this is successful and we look for ways to pay for it, I think we need to see if there's a way to sort of have those that benefit who don't live in the town share some of the costs here. And there's some ways we can do that. There are definitely ways that can be done, that can be explored.
I want
don't
to, I
think
want
people would
to,
mind. Honestly, if people
we
probably
reached
wouldn't
out
mind
to-
paying a few cents a day to get to work faster.
Have we reached out to East Hampton Town at all? Because this affects them as well.
I haven't talked to East Hampton Town about this program.
I have to tell you, these numbers are, this would be for the 1 or 2 week issue. We wouldn't be able to sustain this for the reasons that I said, we don't have the
But
reserve.
you'd have to have the personnel.
We'd have to hire people, so these numbers would be much more inflated to hire, let's say, a highway unit to handle this on a ongoing basis.
Go up?
We'd have to hire new police.
To have personnel, yeah, to have 10 new police
We'd
officers.
will we have to have 10, or could you do it with 4 new police, 5 new?
I could figure that out for you, but it would be more than
And I
5.
mean, this is a
Do it, yeah.
county road that currently isn't working the way we need it to work, so county police officers, county money, I mean, this is their road.
We
It's
can
not
ask.
working.
Right, and with the permits, they said, God bless you,
Yeah.
Southampton Town, if you want to do it, do it.
Typically-
Fund it.
And that's not right.
Typically,
It's their road.
Suffolk County PD officers, don't
It's not their
come out
jurisdiction.
here. It's not their jurisdiction out here. We have our own police department, even though it's our road. Sheriffs do have some jurisdiction, but that can be a dispute whether they should be doing this type of work. East Hampton would be out of their jurisdiction.
I'm
to
not
come-
talking about them supplying officers, I'm talking about funding.
We can always ask whether they'd be willing to fund some of this.
Because I mean, if this, let's just say, argument's sake, this works great. Is there an adaptation with changing markings on the roadways and changing signals going forward that would require less of a police presence and could be done more on a permanent basis?
I'm sure infrastructure changes would reduce police, absolutely. I mean, you could have long-term engineers look at this and change the infrastructure and make lanes, yeah, that you,
I mean, I
where you
think-
wouldn't need.
Right,
think it's
I would
like us
assume
doing
that this
and
would
bringing
be
it to the county and
an
saying,
engineering
This
fix should
works.
be
Well,
part of this mix, long-term.
I mean, is there a technological way where you could, let's say the costs were $40,000 a week, right? That's sort of what your number was,
For,
divided by 5, so.
What's it got going?
yeah,
So what's that
So
times
it's
52 weeks?
what's that on a day? 40,000 for 5 days, so that's, 8,000 a day?
Well, 62.5 times 52 is $3.5 million.
Well, just on a daily basis, sounds like
But
8,000.
that's overtime, soaking wet, I get it.
So let me just finish.
That's a
my-
lot of roundabouts.
Let me just finish my thought. So say it's $8,000 a day, and there's probably 20,000 out-of-town contractors that drive through there, So was that 50 cents each? If there was a mechanism to get them to, and I would think they would want it if it was, let's say, 50 cents if they could get to work in a half an hour less or even in 45 minutes less. So, I mean, there might be a way to single out-of-town contractors crossing the Shinnecock Canal using a license plate, easy pass type of methodologies. I'm not saying we should do that, but I think that's something worth exploring because, they're the ones who are benefiting, and our taxpayers shouldn't be shouldering the entire burden of this. Right now, they are. So, I mean, I know it's controversial to talk about that, but, that type of technology exists. It's used all over the place. I'm just saying, like, if you're coming through those hours, 5:30 in the morning to, let's say, 8:30 in the morning, would they be willing to pay a little bit so that we could keep this program up and running? I don't think it's unreasonable, personally. Right? Maybe that's just a portion of the cost. Maybe it's 10 cents a day or whatever. We don't know yet. Per vehicle.
and those are just police department costs, there's highway costs.
I mean, the idea of, I'm hoping this works, and it really makes a fundamental difference. if it only takes 5 minutes off the commute time, it would be a lot of money to take 5 minutes off the commute time. If it takes a half an hour off, that's significant, because you got to add that up. That's people's lives. That's a half an hour a day, that's 2.5 hours a week they'd be getting back of their lives. Would that be worth 50 cents or whatever? I think for most people it would be. So,
Yeah, and on the safety issue too, Charlie, you had a count about how many people came out of Canoe Place on a given day.
I
You
did
know,
it one day with old school counters,
Mhm.
over 3,000 people came out of Canoe Place.
just Canoe Place.
They're coming past,
school and,
there's a lot,
yeah.
There's people going down Dune Road now and
Well,
coming
that's
over the
common.
Ponquag Bridge.
So I'm not here to lobby for more police officers, but you think about the two biggest complaints of the traffic, and then the other complaint is the overweight trucks that are on these roads. And it becomes a big issue for the highway department, because we have to repair those roads. They're not made for those giant trucks. So right now, the bridge going over Gravel Hill there's no R rating to go over, which are the bigger trucks. So they're going down Fanning Avenue. We got tractor trailers going down Fanning Avenue. So what I'm thinking is, if you were able to fund a highway unit, it's probably more than 4 guys, and if they were also trained in weighing the trucks, they could work in the morning on the traffic, and then in the afternoon, they could weigh these trucks. And you talk about revenue, those bills are big money. And that's the two biggest complaints that I get in the highway department. It's the traffic and these trucks over 10,000 pounds on these side roads. So I
And they're
think that-
allowed if they're doing deliveries, I think, but not for,
Yeah, I think we would win that battle.
I know, but a lot of, I think, we'd make some revenue in the beginning, but it'd be one time, and then they'd stop going, which is good, you get them off those roads.
Which is the goal.
Yeah, but I don't know that would be an ongoing funding source, is what I'm saying. It's a good idea, but it's, in terms of, are there other ways we can fund this if it's successful? We can have this conversation later on, when we have a more accurate sense of what it's gonna cost and know how effective it is.
I do know that if you have extra officers, I don't know about you, but my office all the time is speed complaints, you could have the highway unit doing speed control. It's
They could do
wanted everywhere in the town.
more speed ticketing, yeah.
Yeah, with a highway unit, they would take care of all of this, and the overtime costs would be gone. That would be their job. And then they would have a long list of traffic complaints they would address when this wasn't going on.
Which would be huge.
They had a highway unit back in the day.
Yeah, those speeding tickets, though, do we keep all that revenue? A lot of it
No.
goes to the state, right?
Yeah.
I'm just talking quality of life.
But there are other.
No, and I
avenues.
appreciate that. There's a lot of they wouldn't have to do this all the time. If we had, let's say, 5 more police officers.
I feel like, and you're talking about, benefit to taxpayers, and you're talking about adding to this, speeding in neighborhoods and traffic complaints being taken care of and addressed. I think that is a benefit to the town. That is a benefit to the taxpayers. If you can get it beyond morning and afternoon traffic control and get it into a safety issue in a town quality of life issue, I think that benefits the taxpayers more than, asking them to pay for.
Right, but if I don't want property taxes, obviously, to go up, right? I don't,
And we've been adding police.
and not everywhere in
Working on
town
that.
pays for the police, right? You have, anyone who lives in the village, they have their own police. So you're really basically focusing the tax burden on the areas outside of the villages. Yet everybody benefits. A lot of these people who are going through this work in those villages. So I think, finding a way to pay for this that doesn't increase property taxes, but does improve our quality of life, I think is the way to go. I'm not sure what the answer to that is, but I don't think it's just, let's hire 5 more cops and increase property taxes to cover it. I don't think that's the answer, even though there might be some benefits to it. It's a lot of people on fixed incomes or, dealing with high costs of living that, I'd like to try to keep property taxes in line. And that's going to be a challenge. So that's why I'm looking for ways to try to shift the cost of doing this to the people who are benefiting from it, particularly those who don't pay property taxes in the town of Southampton, or don't live in the town of Southampton.
I do understand what
There's
you're
gotta be
saying.
tens
It's just-
of
it's just-
thousands of
You have to keep
people.
in mind that part of the equation is we don't have the bodies to do this long-term. So,
Well, you could hire them if we had the money to do it.
right.
And I'm saying, let's come up with a way to have the money to do it that doesn't burden our taxpayers. I don't think that's
Understood.
unreasonable, and I think that's, you can do that. You can do that.
And I come back to, it's a county road, and it's,
Well, we can ask the county, good luck, but we can ask the county to fund it. We didn't have really much success with the cone program when we were doing the cone program, and we had to use our police.
No,
We had some help from sheriffs, and there was some county contributions toward that original cone program.
I've made inquiries asking for assistance, and we're not going to get assistance from other police departments to do this program.
I think what Councilman McNamara is just, is would the county pay us
Sure,
money
sure.
toward our police? We
And
can
they
cer-
should
We should
pay to
certainly
alleviate the traffic.
ask. It's good for the county economy. County economy is, sales tax is what funds the county. Get people to work a little bit faster, keep them more productive. I mean, there's probably some benefits. It helps tourism economy out here if people can, get here faster than other tourist destinations. But
So, Jay,
worth the shot.
Is there any chance that the original cost for the program could come out of like surplus that the town has?
Well, I'm not worried about the pilot program.
Okay.
Pilot program, we're gonna fund the pilot program.
So the thought would be if the pilot program works in late October, and then we roll into November, and the landscapers and the tennis courts and the pool people, and they're out of the mix, you're gonna see the traffic lighten up. Those are the busiest days, Wednesday and Thursday. Those are when those smaller contractors are out. So if that's the case and this works, and we're gonna take the winter off, so to speak,
Right.
then we can regroup on how we're gonna pay for it if we decide to go forward. Maybe it's not all of it, maybe it's some of it. But I think you have the winter to come up with a plan to fund this, whether it's through surplus or plate readers, or I suggested, which I got smacked a little bit, building permits having a fee to cover this. Because let's face it, the building permits are all of those people that are coming out to do the work, all of the ones you suggested. It's not the everyday tennis court or landscaper, because those permits are already in place. But some of these bigger projects, if we added a fee to cover this program for all of those laborers and all those tractor trailers and all the cement trucks and everybody coming through, I think would offset the cost, maybe not pay for it, but it would be an idea where the people that are really using the roads are paying for it.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that, obviously.
Yep.
Another idea that was floated, and I don't know if there's still the state authorization, but there was state authorization to put speed cameras in front of school zones, speeding zones.
Yeah, I think that would hurt.
It was bad. It didn't go well in Nassau County. Well, I think our residents don't necessarily speed. They know those school zones, but like where Bridgehampton School is, where you've had a fatality, years ago, it was probably 18 years ago. People fly past Bridgehampton School, and you can set those speed cameras to say, look, we're not going to automatically ticket somebody unless they're doing 15 or 20 miles above the speed limit. But if it's a really excessive speed, if you're in a 20-mile school zone and you're doing 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, I think it's a good safety issue. I think the authorization still exists. It's just something we could look at.
That was for county, right? Well, county governments were authorized to do that, which is the problem here. We have them on the buses, which is a county program. We're
Yeah, I
getting a
thought,
percentage.
my recollection was that we could do it, that we had an authorization to do it. The county looked at it after Nassau
Mhm.
County had such a bad rollout, it didn't do it, but, I mean, like the Ponquag School, yeah, they're probably right, that'll probably be mostly local residents who got hit with that, but they shouldn't be speeding past the school. But anyway, that's just another thought. I think there's different ways we can look at paying for this. Can any of like the highway grant money, CHIPS money, none of that can go toward this, I don't think, right?
I'd have to research it, I don't know.
Yeah.
CHIPS, we usually get paid back for the work that we do, but I'll have to look at it.
And we can explore grant options, trying to ask the state to give us some money to do this, public safety grants.
There is a highway component to this, right? You're going to be setting up signs in the morning and taking them down in the afternoon. There's maintenance, there's cones position, and that's going to be done by highway.
Correct.
So that
So
was the
that,
police
that is a
cost. What
price
about
that we're
the
not
highway
figuring
cost?
in here with the number that you gave, Captain Kiernan.
Yeah, I don't have that cost ready,
So
So
The cost-
overall, it's gonna be more than the
Yeah.
40,000 a week,
Yeah.
43,000.
Significantly more. Another whole department is involved.
So that really just comes back to like how we pay for it. It's like, it's not budgeted, right? So we could budget it, then we have to tax for it.
Well, why don't we start with, does it work?
Yeah, I think, let's test it. Not only does it work, but
Does it
This has
accomplish
been
how-
tested
a
and works.
significant?
how much does it work?
Yeah.
This has been tested and works.
Yeah.
That we know works.
Right,
does it take the congestion out of the residential neighborhoods of Hampton Bays?
100%.
And we'll tell you, there are other areas in the town that could benefit from that same, in Flanders. for instance.
This one Canoe Place, we're sort of doing within the current budget.
And, right, we started this last fall, we got a permit, and amazingly, it took like a month and a half to get that permit.
Do you know that permit was good for 10 days?
10 days, okay.
August 10th to August 20th of '21.
So
So there you go.
are we all comfortable in at least authorizing these 6 intersections, and then police and highway will work together? Not necessarily, I don't think we're basically saying, go ahead and start doing this, because A, we don't have the funding, and
Would ask that you-
B, they're not all created equal. This one, we're gonna continue.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I'd like to continue, Captain, you're doing in the afternoons some of the state lights, right?
Yeah, and that, I mean.
On Montauk
it's-
Highway.
It's in addition to my budget, though, and I forwarded you the cost that it's,
You're talking about St. Andrews?
I'm talking about Canoe Place and St. Andrews. What it's costing me a day. It's beyond my budget. It's not within my budget, so.
All right, we're gonna have to figure out, we have to talk to the controller's office, because blinking the light at St. Andrews in the afternoon is helping, correct?
I'm not, at the moment, well, I'm splitting it with Southampton Village Police and us. So we're doing 3 days, they're doing 2 days, even though it falls in our jurisdiction. And that seems to be working out at the moment.
Okay, so there can't be that big of an impact then.
How is this going to affect or how has this affected?
I didn't see any police officers. The last time I went through was on Blink, and I didn't see.
I had a TCO.
That's what
I have a
Fire.
TCO handling that.
So that shouldn't be too bad then. I'm sorry, Councilman.
Sorry for, how is this affecting other programs that we have in the town? I guess the question is, when Highway was out doing this, they weren't doing other things in the town that, I know the men and women of Highway are very busy and they have things to do. So, what's not getting done because of that? Also, is the LEAF program going to be happening this fall?
It is. The answer to question 2. In question 1, really was a little bit of an impact because our tour starts at 6 in the morning during the summer. So it was either me or the deputy that was in the box at Canoe Place. So it was really, I'm not the one out cutting the grass or plowing, so we were able to do that. We had one laborer that was stationed at the, at Spellman's, because you need somebody there for the cones to let people in that want to go to Spellman's, and the Cisco truck delivers to the restaurants. And then we had one person at the top of the hill. So basically 2 people were taken out of it. So it really was no impact on the other residents and the other programs. In the morning, they set it up on overtime, and they take it down on overtime. And so the takedown is just one truck comes down. It takes just a few minutes to pick up the cones.
Jay, you asked if we were comfortable doing this, and I have to say, for me, yes, I am a lot more comfortable getting county permits to have a blinking light program in the town of Southampton and having our police officers out waving traffic through. The risk to reward here, I understand the rewards. You said you had a point to prove, and you proved it. So that was the reward, but in my opinion, I thought and you proved it. So that was the reward, but in my opinion, I thought the risk to the town and the people of the town of Southampton was quite high. God forbid if something happened. but it didn't. So we're okay, we move on. But now we have the permits and we have the police in place, and we're going to look at hopefully long-term engineering fix for the town. So, under those auspices, yeah, I'm a
Well,
lot more
have we,
comfortable.
Jim, have we talked to risk management on this one? And-
Yes,
We have referred it, yes. I haven't seen a response yet.
We got it yesterday.
yeah, you reviewed it.
Got it
You know,
yesterday.
it's, we're taking on liability where we probably have some now, but we're taking on more than we currently have because I'm sure, the county permits are sort of requiring us to at least jointly cover this. But if somebody does get hurt here, where they might have just sued the county, now they may come after us too. But our insurance is aware of this?
Yes.
Our carrier is aware?
Yeah. I'll speak further on it with them. We did refer it over to them. I can review any of the responses, but I believe, you know, if we have the county permits, or at least we're acting within the scope of normalcy and unemployment.
And we're not executing other than the Canoe Place Road one, we're not doing anything else until sometime mid-October, is that right?
That's my understanding.
Through the pilot program.
And with the Canoe Place Road, do you want us to do the afternoon also?
I'd like you to do the afternoon. You found that was very helpful. I drove through it the other day and it wasn't backed up there, but maybe on an as-needed basis, if it's backed up to North Road.
You have to, you have to schedule it, and we could do it as a needed basis, but we still have to pay the person if we tell them we don't need them.
All right, well, how often is that light a problem, like where it's backed up over the bridge?
I can tell you that the 2 days I did it, it was going smooth. And as soon as I started to pick up the cones, it backed up over the canal. The light trips every time somebody hits it, even if they're making a right turn. Hopefully, the county's gonna they're putting in that right turn lane, so hopefully if people are going east, they won't trip the light and it may work on its own. But right now, if you wave them through the red light, it keeps the traffic going, and then the North Road works.
Why don't we try it for a bit? If it's not needed, we'll end it.
Understood.
So again, these these 6 changes, the only one we're immediately doing, going back to the program, is the Canoe Place Road. And the other ones we're saving for this week in October, where we're gonna test them all. Okay? So that gives us time too, with risk management, to make sure this is fully vetted. Right, Jim?
Yeah.
And to let the public know as soon as possible when you decide to do that, so the schools know.
Okay.
Well, Charlie, I do want to say thank you. I know it was a little risky for you to do this, and it might have been a little outside the box. But honestly, we were having trouble in our neighborhoods from West Hampton through Flanders. The flow of traffic helped everybody get through. It helped our neighborhoods. It's going to help us when school starts again. I feel a lot safer now that we don't have 3,400 cars cruising away from the high school and through those local roads. So whatever it took us to get here, I appreciate it. Let's try to continue it with the captain's help, and we'll see if some of these others work. But we do need to keep traffic flowing, because even if it only saves them 5 minutes, it saves our neighborhoods. You know, it saves the wear and tear on the roads. It's very important for quality of life that we keep this moving. And again, we know a lot of this goes right through Southampton Town to East Hampton Town. You know, so the best we can do to keep it moving and let it disperse later on, I think, is an asset. So thank you, guys.
All right, so we haven't voted yet, so nobody go home. All right, any other discussion? All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so it is approved. I'll have those signed today. At least the one, you know, I can sign this one immediately, the Canoe Place Road one. All right. All right, so that's the only, thank you, Captain, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, that's the only resolution we have. I would like, though, to have an executive session on personnel, CPF program manager in particular, conversation. So like to make a motion to end our special town board meeting and go into executive session to discuss personnel matters.
Second?
Well, seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned for all other.